We are live with a breaking interview with John Drake. He's just been moved up to rank as the second ranked candidate in the election for the recall, right after John Cox. We're going to do an exclusive interview with him, and we're the first person group to do it. But
Larry Elder, right after Larry Elder, sorry.
Right after Larry Elder. John Drake is ranked, and we're going to be doing a one-on-one interview with him before anyone else. But first, okay, John Drake, while I queue up the material, can you walk us through? So recently, the recall elections have been going on. Yes, California has been doing a series of debates. We recently were very proud to report that the San Diego Union Tribune had showed that 2/3 of all of the candidates who ranked at all in any polling had participated in Yes California debates, and that many of the Yes California, not candidates, but the people who have participated in Yes California debates did better than the people who refused to participate, like Kevin Kiley and Armando Perez Serrato. So, John, was participating in the Yes California debates good? Did it help your campaign? Is that maybe part of the reason why you did so well? In your words, sir.
Yeah. I think it really helped. It not only helped me develop my ideas even further, but it helped me actually engage with other people who had ideas that I might not have had in the earlier stages of my campaign. Just being able to be able to articulate what I believed and be able to also share on social media, allowing a bigger audience to not only hear me give my ideas to other people, but also just hear me defend my ideas. I think that honestly brought a lot of people in, and I think that really made people more engaged in my campaign.
Why do you think you rocketed to the top? I mean, you started off, as you said, with no money, shoestring budget, no background, unknown. I think the youngest person in there, and technically the least experienced. But hey, you're admitting that, so it's not a slam on you. But you're also saying, hey, I'm young, I'm enthusiastic, I'm a political science student, and I'm ambitious, and I actually want change. I suffer here, I want my home better. And so you got a lot of emotional endearment from that. But how did you go from unheard to the second after Elder? What do you think was the key to your success? Why did that happen?
I would say I think it's not just my messaging, but it's a lot of what I stand for. It's who I am. I'm very outgoing. I speak to every single person who interacts with my Twitter or my Instagram or TikTok. I try my best to give a one-on-one with them so that they know that I'm hearing their concerns, I'm answering their questions, because it's so important. It's also a lot to do with that I'm a pretty young person. Like we have a bunch of political outsiders take power in the nation's capital with like the likes of AOC, Tlaib, Omar. We had so many of like young outsiders who were not experienced in the political field, who are progressives, just take the reins and just drive progressive values in through their legislation, and just ultimately become known on a large scale. They're huge among young people. They're loved among their bases, and I think I've sort of tapped into that base very well.
I want to ask you about that. Let's go to the poll real quick to show this. If you could walk us through a little bit. Let me do share screen. I'm hoping this is it. So there should be an Excel chart. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right here is John Drake. Here's the new poll. It came out. How likely are you to vote? Who would you vote for? Are you leaning towards recalling or keeping? Which candidate would you vote to replace Governor Newsom if recalled? And what we're looking at is John Cox versus John Drake. And both of you are outranking Larry Elder, Kevin Faulconer, Caitlyn Jenner, Kevin Kiley, Jackie McGowan, Doug Ose, and Kevin Paffrath. Kevin Paffrath has taken a serious fall from, I believe, the second or third ranked position all the way down to the last ranked. And Jackie McGowan was one of the top ranked Democrats as of 2 weeks ago and has taken a dramatic fall now. So is Kevin Kiley. Why do you think that you rose as a Democrat while Kevin Paffrath and Jacqueline McGowan fall? I mean, not to pick on anybody, but if you look at this chart, it's John Cox, then you, then Republican, 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 and then Jackie McGowan was the front-ranked Democrat a few weeks ago. Now she's way down here, and Kevin Paffrath was the top-ranked Democrat. Now he's way down here. How come the two Democrats are so far down, and you're at the top, leading the pack above so many other Republicans? Why are you number two, and why are you outpacing all other Democratic candidate options by multiple levels of standard deviation? Why is that? How'd that happen? Because it wasn't this way 2 weeks ago.
It wasn't. And it moved so quickly towards in my favor in the past week. And it was very shocking to me. But I would say a lot of it has to do with, I think, messaging. Kevin Paffrath is really out there, showing his disillusion with not just the Democratic Party, but the Democratic establishment. And the problem is that during an election where it becomes necessary for Democrats to hold their own, you shouldn't have a leading Democrat who's criticizing you every step of the way, who's voting yes on the recall, and endorsing people like Larry Elder to replace the current governor, who is a Democrat. Part of this recall, it means that Democrats have to stand in solidarity with one another. And if you're going to throw them under the bus, then don't expect to do very well among them. Also, I think it's also a lot. I think a lot of it has to do with that I'm really engaging with younger people and even older people on not just like a one-on-one basis, but through social media. Like, I'm actively reaching out to them. So I've utilized social media a lot more than most of my other opponents. Like, I'm not afraid to be a little pointed in my tweets. I'm not afraid to call out people. I'm not afraid to not do, I guess, campaigning as usual. I'm kind of more out there in what I say, and I think people like the realness of that, because I know everyone gets frustrated, but I think we hold politicians up to be some weird beacon that isn't like human. So, like, we think that they can't have real emotions. We think that they can't say this or that, or they can't be frustrated. I let my frustrations out on Twitter, and I let people know that I'm frustrated. When it comes to the California Democratic National Committee, I will call them out if they're misleading people, because I think it's important that we do have a second option to vote for. So I've been quick to call them out on most everything. I'm willing to sort of deviate from standard Democratic platforms like property taxes and push for alternative forms of land value tax, which is more fair and more equitable than just having an outright property tax. I think I think taxes should be collected on the basis of value of land, rather than saying that someone whose property is making like nothing has to pay the same amount of property taxes as someone whose property is making a whole lot more than them. So I think being able to be my own person, be my own individual, I think that's what's really set me out from Kevin. And as for Jackie, I would say the same thing. I think that running a campaign on one issue, which is mainly cannabis, only takes you so far. If you're not willing to stretch your arms out to other things, and she's been doing that, but she did it so late in the ballgame that message wasn't cemented. So I would say she was her own weakness, but Kevin was always his own weakness as well. But I would say I like Jackie a bit more because she at least stands with party solidarity, which is very important in a recall.
Fair enough. But so Paffrath, right after he was ranking, said that he was disillusioned with the Democratic Party and leaving the Democratic Party, which, I mean, if you're running as a Democrat in a state that's majority Democrats, and then you tell people, I'm not really a Democrat and I don't really like that party, it kind of says you're not a real Democrat.
Well, yeah, I've been saying he's not a real Democrat for months.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that, especially, I mean, the McGowan campaign pointed that out first, I think, when they pointed out that his homeless plan that he launched his campaign with did not match the Democratic Party platform at all. So the guy comes out day one, massively trashing a part of the Democratic Party platform while running as a Democrat. And it's like, that's bizarre. So it'd be like as a Republican going, I'm all for communism, but I'm a Republican.
Yes.
But my key platform is I'm running as a communist, but I'm a Republican. It's like, really?
Mhm.
Are you? I mean, I guess you can say that. And then the McGowan campaign, unfortunately, released a tweet about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, where she said she will not be boxed in by the Democratic Party, and said that members of the Democratic Party could make love to themselves.
Oh, give me a minute.
This way.
Yeah, sorry. I was just getting mail.
So a week ago, Paffrath is a top-ranking Dem, and he says, I don't really like the Dems and I want to leave. 2 weeks ago, McGowan is a top-ranking up-and-coming Dem. She got the endorsement by Maher, but then she released a tweet saying, effectively, F the Democratic Party, or I don't want to be part of them, or you're not going to tell me what to do. Do you think that when we have an election and you're a top-ranking Dem, and then you say, I don't like the party or I don't want to be part of the party, that maybe that had something to do with these two candidates getting tanked in the rankings between that point and now?
Yeah, I would say 100% that is definitely.
Oh.
No, I mean.
Rocket science.
Well, I mean, I obviously have my own disagreements with the Democratic National
Of course.
Committee. And I would be hard pressed to say that no one does. So I have my own opinions on them. I think they do things not very well. I think they do things ineffectively, or they sometimes support the wrong things. But overall, I'm not going to throw them under the bus, and especially call myself disillusioned with the Democratic Party when they've given me no reason to do so, when they're trying to defend us from someone like Larry Elder. I think that's so important, and having that backing, having a strong foundation with the party that really does stand with the working class, that stands with minority groups, that gave us the that gave the LGBT community the right to marry, that basically pushed for civil rights, that pushed for so many things. I think to say I'm disillusioned with them in the state of California, of all places, is political suicide, and it's just backwards. I think these people got so hung up on how important they thought they were, that they felt that they were untouchable. Well, in politics, no one is untouchable. Yeah, you say the right thing or you don't. And these people became so self-important that they said the wrong thing and got essentially politically canceled for it.
Yeah. So, folks, there's a lesson learned. If you're running for a party, you do not trash the party that you're part of. You can criticize the party. I mean, you famously said, F the corporate Dems, but you said corporate Dems, which was an aspect of the party.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of you don't like. You never said, and you were clear, I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. I'm running as a Democrat. And then you criticized aspects of the party, but you never took the whole party and said, let's throw the whole thing in the garbage and still vote for me. And it appeared as though other candidates thought that was a good idea right before the vote. So now we see those candidates dropping 8 layers below you and you rising to the top. It's almost like when you take yourself out as a Democrat, the real Democrats rise to the top. Is there any truth in that, John?
I would say there's 100% truth in that, because because we said it earlier, like I'd been calling Kevin Paffrath a Republican running under the Democratic ticket for months. I had never considered him a Democrat just because of the things he supported. But it's when you sort of trash the party as a whole rather than criticize certain aspects, you give the wrong message to even Democrats who would agree with you that corporate Democrats absolutely suck, but the regular working class Democrats are trying their best and their hardest to just be represented and trying to make a better life for themselves. So it was actually in one of the debates you held that I 100% said, I want to go into the Capitol and tell every corporate Democrat to go screw themselves. And it's not a secret that the DNC has a problem with taking corporate money. Like that's a fact, and it's easy to criticize them for that. But to say the entire party is bad because of these small issues, well, they're not small issues, but to paint the entire party as just being corporately influenced when they do so much good, like with people like with Katie Porter, who actively stands up for civil rights, who actively stands up against corporations, then I think we have to stand back and see that the party as a greater whole is much better than just saying it all sucks.
There you go. As they would say, and I say this with love, out of the mouth of babes. So you are the youngest candidate here. You have the least experience, and yet you somehow figured out to be more politically mature than people who are 10 to 25 years older than you and have a lot more experience. How come you're getting basic stuff about politics that other people with more experience, more name recognition can't seem to get? And I mean, these are big things to understand.
Yeah.
Why are you getting the big things that real candidates need to get, and other people with more experience are doing some of the most ignorant things I've seen in an election?
Well, I think a lot of it is just petty behavior. Again, it's the mindset that you come with. It's just being petty. So like Kevin Kiley, he was bragging about like how he was suing the Secretary of State and the state of California. Why is that something? Like I wouldn't want to sue my state because they're doing something wrong. I would want to fix it. I understand that there is fundamental problems, but to be bragging about like, wasting taxpayer money on a lawsuit, I'm just not going. I don't understand how you think that's good PR. To throw people under the bus, to try and run dirty campaigns, I don't get it. I know. Like I thought it was brave with what Jackie did, standing up and going towards Larry Elder, saying, why don't you debate me? Because he never attended debates because he thought he was untouchable. But I think at the same time, I think it was also sort of disrespectful in its own regard because it was still I guess, going into a place of worship where this man was properly invited to, and he spoke there. And so I would just say that was a safe space for him that was violated. But at the same time, I think it really comes down to a whole state of mind. Do you think that you're better than the average Californian? Do you think that you can do this or that? And time again, a lot of people who end up in a leading position think that they are untouchable because they have this mindset that they are untouchable, that they are so much better than you. When I remember where I come from. I come from a low-income family. I come from a family who has people in it that suffer from homelessness, that suffer from drug abuse. So, like, I see myself as very well connected with the people who struggle with these issues. I was just in Los Angeles the other day, walking down the street, and I saw tons of homeless people, and I didn't think gross because I know homeless people. I want to help them, and I'm not going. And I could have taken pictures with them and being like, "Oh, look at me! I'm helping these homeless people." I didn't bother doing that because I think that being able to help people without a second motive behind it, like publicity or likes or whatever, I think that's more important because that means that you're focused on the individual and their problems rather than just trying to get something out of it. And someone asked in the comments, how old am I? I'm 20. So,
like, yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so has the Democratic Party contacted you?
No.
At all?
Never.
Okay. I'm going to take you down a little story lane. And since you did the reporting of the news, I'm going to now ask you some tough questions. I think you're going to like the questions, but we're looking for tough, real answers. Let me explain the background for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you your opinion. And I think you're going to see where this is going, and I think you're going to like it. So, we took here at Yes California, we had staff look at millennial voters in California politics from the Public Policy Institute in 2019. That is the official think tank of California. And we looked at the official studies of youth vote turnout and registration 2019. We also looked at the 2021 report by the PPIC. We also looked at the last reporting by the Sacramento Bee on the youth in 2020. And here's what they found. The gap between the rates of youth voters and California's overall population remained unchanged in 2020 compared to 2016. The likelihood of voting also increases with age. Basically, if you're old, you vote, and if you're young, you almost don't vote. Baby boomers are 38% of the population voting, even though the youth are actually like 38%. Let's get a little bit more specific. Young adults make up 32% of the population, but only vote 24% of the time. And there was some projections. Let me show you this. Let's go to share screen. So here is Alex Padilla in 2018, the Secretary of State, talking about how they are, well, Shirley Weber now, but it was Alex Padilla before. They registered 200,000 youth in 2018 so that they could vote in 2020, the 2020 election where we just saw they did not vote. Here's another thing where they're talking about how in 2014, only 52% of eligible youth voted and only 8% of eligible youth 18 to 24 voted. That's in 2014. They bumped that number up a little bit. 2016, it has not improved from 2016 to 2020. And here are the reports that we also pulled our information from. Now, and here's another report from University of California talking about how the youth are fired up to vote in 2020. So what we see Alex Padilla talking about how we're registering the youth. Hey, California government's focused on registering the youth. Hey, the University of California is registered on waking up the youth. And then we see the actual numbers are the youth don't vote. So all that talk and all that effort and all that promotion, and you got nothing. Mm-hmm. But it gets a little bit more interesting. So this is the LA County trying to activate their young people to vote, which is we encourage. So here's LA County. And here's what they said you could do. And I'm going to get to you in just a second, John. So provide a civics education that helps them learn how to vote. With proper guidance and support, encourage high school students to register their peers. Enlist the support of the county registrar to help register people. School officials and personnel can be allies in supporting voter registration in schools and among students. Partner with community-based organizations dedicated to developing young leaders. Work with civic engagement and voters to get more young people voting. Fund school-based voter engagement programs similar to LA Youth Vote. Collaborative initiatives rely on staffing to coordinate collaborations among different stakeholders and train youth leaders. Focus on building infrastructure in community colleges. Okay, well, they did all of that, and it didn't work. And what I'm not seeing them do is this. So perhaps you've heard of this person, John. Have you ever heard of someone called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Yes, I have.
Okay, not asking you to endorse her or back anything, but what makes her so popular with young voters? Ocasio-Cortez's appeal to young voters has a lot to do with her tech savviness and shared policy views. And then we can scroll down, and Ocasio-Cortez is the youngest member of Congress and has actively used social media to mobilize young voters to strengthen the growing base of the Democratic Party. She's utilized Twitter, Instagram, and effectively made TikTok videos, but posted them on other platforms to communicate pressing policy issues to young voters. So, John, here's the question for you. Democratic Party for years has been spending millions of dollars to register young people. Get out there and educate young people to be civically minded. And then they said, hey, it's working, folks. Look, the youth are going to come out in 2020. And then the youth did not come out in 2020, and the voting participation did not raise that much over 4 years, even though all the best efforts by horses and men. Mm-hmm. Is perhaps the strategy of civic education not working and not the best strategy? And is perhaps the strategy of having a young person talk like a young person on young people platforms the best way to get voters encouraged, since we literally seen someone doing that, and since the other ideas they followed have fallen completely and failed? What do you think, John? What are we missing here?
Yeah, no, the DNC needs to stop putting money into youth engagement programs and give the youth a candidate worth voting for. Like, I like that's the problem that we see a lot is that we keep investing in these programs that people want, or that older people think that young people want. Like, go out into your high school and get people to register to vote. They don't care about this. If you give them something, a reason to register, then they're going to register. Like tons of people have reached out to me and have been telling me, I registered to vote just to vote for you. You're the first person I ever voted for, and I get this from very young people or even very old people, and so if you want youth engagement, give the youth someone worth voting for who is. They don't necessarily have to be young, but they have to share the ideas of what young people want. And time again, California just doesn't do that. We put up corporate Democrats in literally every election possible, and the youth are just like, oh, I'm discouraged. I don't care. And then by the time they're old enough to that these policies affect them, then they go out and vote. But at that point, it's just too late because the only people who are running are then establishment people. But then you have instances like Tabib, you have instances like Omar or AOC, where not only are they young, but they also share those young ideas. They're not caught up in this huge corporate machine, so they are able to make effective change within the party and within policy that young people actually want. And so I think you should be pushing for younger candidates.
So we're talking with John Drake. He's now ranked from near total zero to second placed candidate amongst all candidates in the recall election. He's literally done it by himself. He has received no major money, no major endorsements, no major staff, and zero support from the Democratic Party. And on his own, he went from nobody, a complete total zero, not trying to be mean, but want to make sure the point's here. Like, you were unknown and you're now the second ranked candidate Democrat, and you have beat out Kevin Paffrath, the millionaire, with tons of publicity, and you beat out candidate McGowan, who received endorsements from major Democrats and was a actual lobbyist in Sacramento. And you think part of the reason is that you didn't trash the party while they did. The other one is that we're talking about how to get the youth engaged, and we're showing how the California government has spent a lot of money and a lot of effort to get more young people registered, and they're focusing on civic engagement, and it completely fell flat. All that talk and all that work got some more young people voted, but not as much as they were predicting for 2020. Despite all their civic engagement and registration efforts, they're not getting the youth to participate in the amount they should. And John Drake and I were talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and how she's able to get the youth activated. And he says perhaps there is something about a young candidate who thinks young, maybe doesn't have to look young, at least appears to think young, using those platforms, does get the youth to vote. And what bothers me, John, is whether you're a Republican, a Green Party candidate, a Solidarity Party, anything but a Democrat, you should want the youth to vote in California elections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
We need young people voting so that when we're too old to be doing this, some of you have a pretty decent idea about how it's supposed to work correctly, because we're just going to be completely relying on you. I know I will in 30 years. I can't do this. I'm just going to be hoping people like you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
So the Democratic Party platform of engaging the youth has failed. Here's John Drake. He's risen to the top rank. He's a young person. He's used social media just like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And John, again, for the record, have you received any contact from the California Democratic Party in any capacity?
Zero. None.
Okay. Well, hey, take that for account. You want the youth to vote. You've put millions in. You've talked about it. You are not getting the results. We clearly see a case study of AOC getting results based upon running and using things. Here's John Drake doing this. John Drake could be teaching the California Democratic Party or running for office in the future and getting some love and support, or they should at least be loving you and supporting you and talking to you about fellow races or bringing you into the fold for youth engagement. And you're saying absolutely none of that. It makes me question how committed California is to registering the youth, given that their other strategies failed and you are showing proven results. What do you say about that? Does that make you comfortable that youth are valued here in California?
Um, I think that again, because I've criticized the DNC for this, that a lot of the stuff that we push for, or at least a lot of the stuff that the establishment in the DNC pushes for, are a lot of PR sort of solutions rather than actual solutions to solve real problems. Um, so I would say that the way we solve this is by, again, not only including young people in the conversation, but by also giving them the reins of leadership in those conversations. And California hasn't been doing that enough. Again, from what I heard in their little ideas of those 7 steps to get young people engaged, I could tell 100% it was not written by a young person. I could 100% tell that very plainly and simply. That it was all about registering. Young people don't care about registering if they don't have someone to vote for. And time again, it's proven itself.
I need to apologize for you. I, in a rush to get this done, spelled your name Drakes. I know it's not Drakes. There was an S. I corrected it. I apologize.
That's cool.
For the viewers watching it. Thank you, Susan. The reason that there was the mistake, and we don't like that here at Yes California, we were rushing to get this done. So we had 15 minutes to put this whole thing together. And normally we put more time into it, but we wanted to get to John first because we think this is important and we wanted to get the information to you. So that is my mistake. I own that. I made that. And I apologize to the Drake campaign, to your staff, and I apologize to you, candidate Drake. I sincerely apologize. That was not my intention to misspell your name.
It's fine. It's fine. At least you didn't spell it Blake. So
no, I know your name is John Drake. I know who you are. I was trying to get all that good data out, and I apologize. Thank you, Susan Livingston, and thank you everybody who calls us out at Yes California to be more professional. So, John, if you were able to speak directly to the California DNC, you're doing well. You're young. Young people are more liberal than older people in California, according to every poll out there. They're more progressive and more backing of progressive ideas. So it seemed like in the Democratic Party's interest to get more young people voting because they will likely vote Democrat or left and not Republican. That's just what the surveys show. So I think you would want to win elections bigger. What would you tell the Democratic Party right now if you had 1 minute and you could force every high-ranking office party official to listen to you? Imagine you had the power of God, a wand, Harry Potter wand, and you waved this wand, and it was the power of speaking to all the top-ranking Dems in California, and they had to completely listen to you. Maybe they're helping their kids, maybe they're washing dishes, but for 1 minute, you're able to go, whoosh. But you only got 1 minute to get through to them. What would you say to them, John?
I would say, shut up and listen. Either lead, follow, or get behind. Young people want change. We want certain policies enacted that you guys are not doing yourself. Either give us the reins, either listen to us, be that change and lead that change, or get out of the way. Because young people want that change, and we're not going to stop fighting for it. In fact, if the more hurdles there are, the stronger and more and much more momentum we're going to get. We're going to fight a whole lot harder. We're going to push a whole lot more because we're passionate. We love this state. We love this country, and we don't want it to benefit specific small groups of people. We want it to benefit everyone. And whether you like it or not, a change is coming, and we're not going to capitulate to any sort of advancement against that change.
All right, let's go to closing statements here. You can give a closing statement while I show your website. So we're going to show John Drake's website. John, how would you like the voters to think about you in the last 24 hours while I show them your website?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, my entire campaign could be summed up in 3 main points: affordable housing, affordable education, and affordable healthcare, with an emphasis on how it affects young people. Because if we're going to talk about these issues as a general apparatus of discussion, we're not going to get anywhere. Let's step aside. Let's push the youth to be able to make decisions, because if we're going to solve our problems and fight for a better future, we must include that future, and that future is made up of young people.
Here's his website. You can see his positions on COVID, guns, climate change, LGBTQ, IAP+, homelessness, public education. You can also meet John Drake. Here, this thing. I don't believe myself as someone who likes to lie to people. I think it's time we stop dreaming and start thinking realistically and with common sense. It's okay to dream, but when we let that get in the way of true progress and realistic change, we set ourselves up for failure. John Drake, here's the store. I believe you have merch.
Yes.
Very famous. Here's the John Drake as a cat thing that was, apparently this works. So that's a mask, COVID mask looking like you're a mean cat. And what was your submissive and breedable?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let me get my face here together.
Yeah.
Submissive and breedable was the campaign message for merch. You can get the merch here.
Yes. But my official slogan, everyone, is let's build California together. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Here's some frequently asked questions. What do you mean by social justice and equity, housing and homelessness, tax, COVID relief, education, LGBTQIAP? Let's take a look at his Facebook page. Here's John Drake for governor on the Facebook. Here's the poll showing him as number one. You got to get some more time accurate photos of you, dude. So, and here's the poll showed him with all the Yes California, the people who participated in Yes California debates doing better than everyone, including Kevin Kiley. Let's take a look at his Twitter page. Here's John Drake on Twitter. Nice. Build California together. There's the slogan. And Ventura, California. Here's where you can see more information. Finally, there's his Instagram page, John Drake on Instagram. So there you go. John, we got about 3 minutes, hard stop. Your staff wanted to make sure we stayed hard stop at 11:30. I'm going to give the last 3 minutes to you. Say whatever you want, and we will do a hard stop at 11:30. Whatever you'd like to say, sir.
I think I'm okay. I said what I needed to say, and I'm proud of what I've said. I've been honest. I've been true to everyone. Just call him Young Bernie. Thank you, Jason. I would say that I would just say that I'm glad that young people and older people have just taken this election and pushed so much for a real change rather than this continuing of multimillionaires in office. Obviously, I would be shocked if I win, but if I don't, I know that there's a large percentage of Californians ready for change, and it appears they want me to be that change. So I'm not going to give up anytime soon, and I don't plan to.
And hey, I'm speaking directly to you, not you, John, but everybody watching this video. I've been in this game, activism, politics in California for a decade. Everybody says, if you don't have $1 million in connections, quit. John Drake did not have $1 million, did not have connections, and beat out millionaires with zero money. So he is proof that all of you who say that you got to have $1 million in connections or don't even try are wrong and don't know what you're talking about. And for you who think everything has to be bought and paid for, here's Exhibit A. He got there on his own, no money, no backing, no millions, none of it. And he's now the second-rate candidate with Cox, a millionaire, and he beat out Paffrath and other people. And he beat out McGowan, who had an endorsement from Bill Maher. So you're beating out people with major endorsements, major money, major political party things, and you're running all the way to the top. And I can only imagine that in the 2022 election, if you had a little bit more time, you could go even further. So, folks, all that talk about how you need money and connections to win, John Drake just destroyed that. So when you're talking about that, make sure to put this data point in there because it says y'all don't know what you're talking about, as we like to say back here in the Valley. So sorry, that was the country report coming out. I apologize. It's early in the morning. New City Slick Talk. Fiscal year 2017 was below the. if you ever need a press secretary. So, all right.
Right.
We'll leave it there. Thank you, John. We're always here. Oh, I need to ask you one last thing. I know you got to go. We have multiple homeless advocates
Mm-hmm.
who would love to do a one-on-one interview with you. They were pleased that you went to the homeless event, and they would like to do a one-on-one with you on homeless because they respect you. You went to the event. Would you be open to that? Maybe today or tomorrow we'll set it up.
I'd be open to it. Sorry, because I got like stuff.
I get it.
Tomorrow. I can do Thursday.
Thursday it is.
Okay.
I'll get in touch with you. I know that's after the election, but
Yeah.
you're still a big candidate, and you were there, and you impressed
And I'm not quitting.
and La Quinta. So, yeah. Okay, I'll set it up, brother.
Thank you.
Talk to you
All
soon.
right.